Jesus and told them all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in the boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns and arrived ahead of them. As he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. When they had crossed over, they came to land at Gennesaret and moored the boat. When they got out of the boat, people at once recognized him and rushed about that whole region and began to bring the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages or cities or farms, they laid the sick in the marketplaces and begged him that they might touch even the fringe of his cloak. And all who touched it were healed. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord
youth missioners up to the stage for the altar for our preaching today. Hi, guys. There's one on the other end. Are they on? Is yours on?
On.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We went to LA a week ago, and so I'm going to first have them say their first names and what grade they're in, and then I'll tell you a little about the trip, and then you'll get a chance to really hear about the trip from them.
All right, I'm Bo. I'm going to be a freshman in college.
I'm Yomi. I'm going to be a senior.
I'm Molly. I'm going to be a freshman.
I'm Odessa, and I'm going to be a freshman.
I'm Alex, and I'll be a junior.
I'm Adele, and I'll be a freshman.
Hi, I'm Yolanda. I'm going to be in 10th grade.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I will be a senior.
So we took 12 young people and 3 adults and loaded vans and went to LA, and we stayed at St. John's Episcopal Church in downtown LA. And we focused on 2 places. We focused on Midnight Mission, which is a huge organization, and we served dinner 3 nights while we were there. First night, I think we served probably close to 600 people. The other nights were between 400 and 500 people, and they'll tell you about some of their experiences there. Then we worked at a place called Alexandria House, which is a really special place. It's for women with children or single women who are getting out of homelessness. And they live in this house. They're beautiful Victorian houses. They function together as a family, so different people are in charge of cleaning and meals and things like this. The success rate is really, really high with this house. And one of the reasons, I think, is when these women get out on their own and they get to go into, they find an apartment, what typically sends, especially single women or single families back into homelessness is daycare. You get a job, you can't pay you pay your rent and your utilities, and then you have daycare. What Alexandria House does is, for as long as the women need, after even out of the house, they can continue to bring their children back for daycare, which is really awesome.
So, will you tell us a little bit about your experience? What was the most memorable or impactful kind of moment that any of you had? You can also.
I really liked feeding the homeless people at Midnight Mission because, like the gospel said, they're like sheep without a shepherd, and they're lost on the path, and I feel like we are the shepherds to talk to them about God and to give them food and make them smile. And I think they really liked us being there because it just shows them that there's someone in the world that cares for them.
Mine was at Alexandria House with the kids and playing with them. I think we're all role models to them, and like, you know.
Mine was also the Midnight Mission. Even though we're still like in high school and like Bo's in college, we were still able to make a difference in those people's lives, even though they're like having a hard time. And most people would think that we wouldn't be able to make a difference, but even just smiling at them and giving them food, it really impacted me and them.
Mine was also at Alexandria House, just seeing those kids every morning, because we knew a lot of them from last year, and it was amazing because they still remembered us. And even though their moms had been living in the house, you know, and who knows how their lives were going, seeing us again, it meant so much to them, so much. So that was amazing to me to know that these kids, we had made an impact on them even in the past years.
Mine was getting to play with the little kids at Alexandria House.
All right. Mine was being in the Midnight Mission, which is this organization that's really awesome, and we get to feed the homeless. It brings all of these people together to have dinner and sometimes lunch. And we were serving for dinner, and I was doing like the picking up the trays, so I could actually like see and experience everyone who was like interacting with each other. I could really hear their story and see what they've gone through. It's a really awesome moment.
Mine was a Midnight Mission, and I think what touched me a lot was when I saw this guy, and he had a son with him, and he had told his dad, how about we need food for our little brother, and it made me really sad. So me and Kate, we went over, well, she went first and grabbed like, I think an apple and like some hot dogs, and like after she had brought them that, I had ran and grabbed like 5 or 6, like I couldn't carry a lot, so I carried as much as I can, and I brought it to them, and the guy said thank you. He was like, whoa, and it just made me like really happy, like just feeding that little kid and his little brother. So yeah.
What really was most impactful for me was also going to Alexandria House, is that all those little kids, you'd expect that, well, you expect little kids to be really happy, and they were, despite what they went through. Like, there was this little girl named Samari, and she was so cute, and she hugged everybody when we left, and she was so fun to be around, albeit she was a little handful, but she never stopped talking to us, and she was always smiling and having fun, and it was really cool to see that she was so happy.
Awesome.
In our baptismal covenant, it says, will you strive for justice and peace, and will you respect the dignity of every human being? How do you think that happened during our time there?
So when you're serving at the Midnight Mission, you're serving food from behind like a cafeteria counter, you know what those look like? And there's a wall of plastic between you and the people, except for you to reach over and give them their food. And so the people are walking and they have their heads down, you know, and a lot of them don't say anything. There's some that'll be like, you know, thank you. And what we did was every time we saw a person, we would say, good morning, sir, or enjoy, ma'am, and have a great day, sir. And I feel like that kind of fits the bill perfectly, because even though these people, you know, were homeless and might feel like they were worthless or didn't mean much, I feel like we really made their day because we called them sir and ma'am and really showed them they were important still.
When we were at Alexandria House, I was with this kid, little kid Robert, and he was so cool, and he was one of the older of the little kids, and we were at the library and we were reading, and he loved books, and then when he saw a baseball book, he got really excited. He loves baseball a lot, and I went on a search to find baseball books for him so we could read about Joe DiMaggio and stuff like that. And I thought it was, when I was doing it, I was thinking like, like I'm giving them the respect that they deserve and they rightfully need. Like it's not their fault that they're in this position, and they deserve much more. And by he asks me what he wants and I give it to him, like yeah, that's what he deserves, you know.
Like Alex was saying, when we were serving the homeless at Midnight Mission, there was like a wall of plastic between you and the homeless people you were serving. But there's also another job. We were actually had to go out there and we had to engage in conversation with the people and take their trays or give them to them. And I guess like when you're behind the plastic, you only see them for a glimpse of a moment, but when you're out there with them, talking to them, it's sort of like a new experience for me, like getting to know these people and what they've been through. Like everyone has a story and like they have stories too, so you just have to listen to them, I guess.
Okay, so what really is important is like we go to the Alexandria house and there are all of these kids who have done nothing wrong in their lives. Their family have gone through something wrong, and they're just placed in the position that they do not choose to be in. And just going there and showing them the respect and giving them the care and like the gentleness that they need just really shows like how we can respect them, and it respects their families too, because then the mothers can see how their kids are like feeling, because they will ask, and like the kids will be like really happy, and that's what moms need too. So, so overall.
I felt a lot of respect from everybody over there, all the young children. So I gave respect back in as well. I bonded with this kid named Luca. He showed me a lot of respect. Like even though we're not related, I felt like he was my younger brother. I was reading a lot of books to him, but he wouldn't pick like the little kid books, like a bug book or anything. He picked a Malcolm X book. Like he's only like 5 or 4 years old or 6. I don't know how old he is, but out of all the books, he would pick a Malcolm X book. And he was like, I read him like a little bit of it and tell him how he helped with the movement and everything with Martin Luther King. And he was like, read me more. And so I read him a lot of it. And he was like, after you're done reading it to me, after lunch, can you read it to me again? And he was like just really like excited like to read about it, like, and that made me happy for me to explain to him about that. So yeah.
When we went to the library, because at Alexandria House they have a field trip where they all get in groups and pairs and they walk down to some place. So we went to the park, and then on Monday or Tuesday, I don't know, we went to the library, and I was with this little girl named Christina Bell. And she's like the sweetest thing ever. So we went there, and she told me specifically she wanted a pop-up book. Like she wanted something that would like pop out of the book. And she was like 6. And so I got her this really cool deep sea explorer book. And I expected her like not to be able to like understand what it was about. But she was like pointing out the sea creatures and reading the little side captions. And she was really understanding it. She's such a smart girl, and it was really cool to help her do that.
So what was the hardest part of doing this kind of mission work out in the world?
You go to the midnight mission in the evenings, we all did, and we would get behind the line and serve food, but for the first 5 or 10 minutes they let families in first before all the people. And that was awful, because there will be moms or just dads or whole families, and there are kids smaller than these little ones. There are moms with tiny babies. And like Bo said earlier, the kids didn't do anything wrong, but they're still in this position. So that was the worst part, to have to hand them a tray and say, this is all I can give you, I hope it helps.
At Midnight Mission, there's sometimes like mentally ill people in lines. And it was really sad to see them like that, because they probably got out of the whatever hospital they were in, and then they couldn't get the meds they needed, and then they're on the streets by themselves, and they're they're mentally insane, and they're in the line. They didn't know where they were. They're talking to themselves. Some were blind, some were deaf. Like, it was just really bad because they need help, and people are just they're not getting help. It's just kind of sad.
The way Midnight Mission works is that there's like a bottom level with a courtyard, like an outside courtyard, and that's where people just lay on the ground. And then there's the courtyard outside where people sleep, and then that's the people that just really need help. And then there's a floor above it where people work, and that's like offices and stuff like that. It's not that interesting. But then there's the top level where people who had gone through the rehabilitation and still worked there and still stayed there and helped out at Midnight Mission. So this man gave us a tour, and he was talking about how he started at the bottom level outside, and he was like heroin, alcoholic, and he got in some really bad stuff. And then now he works there, and he's at the very top level in like the small rooms with beds and stuff. And he works there now, and that was really hard for me, and because it was sad that he went through that, but it was also really happy that he got into a better place.
All right, so the saddest part for me is not working at the Midnight Mission. It wasn't working without the Alexandria House. It was actually being on the streets and going through the van rides. And when you're in a van, you are constantly going up and down the streets and whatnot, so you actually get to see everybody who is on the roads, everybody who is depressed, sad, hungry, or like super stressed, and you can just see all of their moods, and just seeing them like in the heat too. And it's a sunny day. People are frying. They're outside burning, and we're just driving in an air-conditioned van, passing them by, and it's just really sad just to see all of them suffering there, alone, or fighting with their kids even. It's really hard.
I think the hardest part for me was there was this, I think she was Korean. Was she Korean? Okay, yeah, she was Korean, a Korean lady, and she would wear this like a coat and would like always like cover herself. And what happened to her was.
Yomi, move the mic in front of your mouth. Yeah, hold it in front of your mouth.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There was this lady. She was Korean, and she had gotten tortured in the I think the Vietnam War. In the Vietnam War, and Kate and somebody else were talking about it. So I was like really interested. I was like, why is she so like, what's wrong? So I was waiting to talk to her. I just wanted to go talk to her. So and then the next day came, and I was just looking for her, and I had seen her. So I went next to her, and I had sat down, and I was like, "How's your day?" I smiled at her, and she smiled at me, and she said, "How's your day?" "It's good." So and then I was like, I didn't mean it in a disrespectful way. I meant it like in a kind way, like to reach out to her. I was like, "I'm really sorry for what happened," and she had like freaked out and like slammed her fork in the table, and she said, "You gotta go." And so I left, and like it just like broke my heart. I was trying to like be nice to her, and I think that was the hardest part, like for somebody to get tortured and not like somebody show you love, and you just be like so like get so hurt, and your heart's like so broken that you just don't trust no one no more. Like she's just like so scared, and you could just see it in her eyes, but still there was still this little light in her. But yeah, that's what.
The hardest part for me in LA was at Midnight Mission when Molly was talking about earlier. The man who had made himself like go up to the top of Midnight Mission gave us a tour of the place, and he took us up to the roof, and he had us look over, and we were looking at like just a single block of Skid Row, and there were like literally hundreds of people just lined up on the sidewalk with trash and like their clothes and bags like scattered across the street, and people were curled up and like they were crying, and you could just like see their like hurt and pain, and that was pretty much the hardest thing for me to see.
For me, it was like Bo said, driving in the car, passing them in the morning, or going to Alexandria House. Some of them had tents, sleeping like in the streets, and some of them had sleeping bags, like curled up, cold, and that just I felt really bad, and I really appreciated what I had, having a home, having a blanket, warm. And when I seen them on the street, it just really touched me that how they're living and how bad their lives are. And when we're feeding them, that just gave me, we give them hope. And yeah.
Well, that leads into another good question. So that was the hard part. So what was the part that gave you hope? What was the good news in your experience?
I thought it was really cool to see how many of them actually had faith with God, and whenever we went through the line, I would say God bless you, and they would say the exact same thing back, and they would say even more, and then they always prayed before. A lot of them prayed before their meals, and it was just cool to see that, given their position, like, they still are with God. And some would think that they would just push God away because, he doesn't like me, he doesn't love me, I'm in this position. If God really was here, I would be rich or something. But no, they still with God, and they're still praying and hoping, and that was just a really inspiring thing to see.
So at the Alexandria house, there are all of these little kids. Because the moms bring their kids there. That's what it is. It's a home for single parents, or women with children. And so we got there, and at first it was really sad because these are homeless children, all they have to stay is at the Alexandria house. But then we got into the daycare, and I can tell you it was a little overwhelming because we would play Duck, Duck, Goose and play Run Around the Car for 10, 20 minutes straight. You think I'm exaggerating. You run around that car for 10 minutes. And so that was what gave me the most hope and was the most inspiring, because these little kids, you would think they would be all sad, like, yeah, my mom doesn't have a job. Yeah, we have to live with all these other people. But no, they're still little kids, and they're still so happy and full of life. And that was just the most amazing moment for me, to realize that they were still just little kids.
And then what gives me hope is for the Midnight Mission, each year you will see a couple individual people who you will always see year to year. And that just means that even though in the harsh climate or freezing climate later, or whatever they're doing, they're always surviving and they're staying strong with themselves. And if they can do that each year, then anybody can do that. So nobody in LA should be suiciding or giving up on all hope. They should all be staying strong, because a lot of people are, and I will love just to keep going back and back, keep going there and just showing my love and support and keep giving myself to them because they deserve it.
What gave me hope, or what I felt like was hope, was those workers there at the Midnight Mission, and they were all homeless at one time, or like had done a lot of drugs and all that, but still they struggled, even though if they don't believe in God, God has been with them the whole time and has helped them during that time, because He has given them the power to just get back up. And just like what she had said, that there was like different levels, and if you like worked hard enough and if you pushed through it, then you would get to the top of the level, where you would only have to pay like $200 a month, I think, for your own room instead of sleeping outside. Like, you would have to put a lot of effort, like, to change your ways and stop the drugs and etc. So that's what gave me hope. Them not giving up and just putting the effort to do good.
Kind of the whole trip gave me hope, because we were seeing these people, and yeah, it was really sad that they had to be here, but it was, and I said this last service, it's really good that they're there too. If they are in that position, it's good that they had gone to one of those places, because those places not only help you get back out into the world, but they help you get farther than just not being on the streets anymore. They help you get a job and get a home, and so that the kids were there with their moms, and that the people were at Midnight Mission, I knew that they were going to get better if they really tried at it. So it gave me hope the whole time that they were here at these places.
What gave me hope was actually, now I think of it, a specific person. At Alexandria House, we had a buddy when we went on these little field trips. We walked to the park and to the library. And my buddy was this little 6-year-old named Marisol. And the whole entire way I held her hand and we talked. And she actually started talking to me about what she wants to do when she grows up. She wants to be a doctor. So I think it just gave me hope to think, even though like these kids had gone through so much, that they still like saw a future for themselves and they had like so many big dreams and plans, and it just made me really happy.
What gave me hope was feeding the homeless at Midnight Mission, and to see them like lighten up when you looked into their eyes and smiled.
So you've spent the last year or so, a lot of you anyway, serving the homeless here in Phoenix too. So can you talk about, just briefly, anybody, kind of what it's like, kind of to have been serving here and then to serve in LA, the comparison between those experiences of serving here and there?
Well, I bet you didn't guess this, but Arizona is really hot. And it's really different to be homeless in Arizona than to be homeless in LA, because Arizona, even though there's less people and it's not as dirty and not as graffitied and stuff like that, it's hotter, so it's harder to be outside all year round. But when you're in LA, there's a lot more people. Like, I didn't expect it. Like, you go out early in the morning and there'd be tents lined up on the street, all the way down the street. So LA is much different, but I'd say if you're in LA, at least it's not like extremely hot all the time.
Like Molly said, I really didn't think, I thought LA would be just like Arizona, that it would be not that many people there, but when we got there, it was so many people, and it was like, it was just hard, that comparing, LA's like,
There are 6,000 people concentrated down in the Skid Row district, which is like a 5 to 6 block radius, north, south, east, and west. So imagine that many people in that area.
When we feed people in Phoenix, we're giving back to our community as a way, and going to LA is cool because we're spreading that love for people out to a farther place, and it's kind of cool that we give another city the same kind of treatment that we give our own city. It's kind of cool.
In the way, it was kind of the same. They were homeless people and they were struggling, but I feel like the LA people, well some of the homeless people were nice, and the other ones were just like Alex said, like mentally ill, or like we're just having a real bad day or something. But like they didn't really talk that much unless you had came up to them and started talking to them, having a conversation. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But Kate would just talk to all of them. But in Arizona, I felt like they were just more talkative, more happy. I felt a little bit last time when I went to go feed the homeless in Arizona. Yeah, they were just more talkative and more happy, I felt. Yeah.
So, a last question. What do we need to know from you about what it means to do this kind of work? How could you inspire us if we haven't tried doing this kind of ministry before? What would you say to us to help encourage us to go forth and do this?
The people in LA are not like that scary. They aren't scary. They're just people that had gone through a rough patch in their life. And some people would think that, oh, they're crazy. Some of them are mentally ill, but most of them are really nice people that you can talk with. And if you just show them the care they deserve, you can really learn a lot from what they've gone through. Yeah.
Every human being deserves the same respect. So just to give out and just go out and do something for somebody else can make you feel so good, and it has for all of us. We go every year, and it's just a blast, and we get to see people's faces light up, and it just brings joy to everyone, whether people who get the food or us who give them the food. So it's just an awesome experience.
Lost my train of thought. Basically, it impacts us a lot, and that's amazing, but it also impacts them a lot. You know, I mean, we go feed the homeless once a month, and all of you can join, even the little ones. Ask Kate, she doesn't bite that often. So even if we only can give them one sandwich, you know, today, or, you know, we can only give them a scoop of rice when we were at Midnight Mission, that could have made the difference. And so it has changed all of us, and we've also given a lot of people probably a lot more hope and made a difference in their lives too.
Kate says a lot when we go to Phoenix feeding the homeless that we shouldn't be surprised if the people are running up to us and getting really excited about getting food. The first time she said that, I was like, no, that's crazy. That's not going to happen. But we went to LA, and what you really need to know is that there's a range of people. There's people who are in nice suits and talking on phones, but they need food. But then there's also people that are really down in the dumps. They're dirty and they haven't showered in a while. And then, like this one man, we gave him his rice and he immediately like picked it up with his hands and started eating it. Like there's a huge range of people, and you don't know who's going to these food places or not, because they can look like a normal person but still need to go to one of these kitchens because of certain reasons that are their own business. But so you just need to know that when you're walking down the street, anybody can be in that position at all.
I think a way that you can inspire someone is by just throwing a smile at someone, like, or I know there's a lot of homeless people, like when you're riding by in your car, or someone's probably asked you for money. Some you have, someone you haven't for your own reasons. But like Bo said, everybody is human being. Everybody has been through the rough times and the good times. And like, if you see someone struggling, just give them money. Even if you think they're gonna go buy for drugs or whatever, that's their choice. In the back of your head, you did good. You have gave them money. You tried to help them. You know. And I'm trying to figure out what Kate said last time, but it was something really good.
You're saying it perfect.
But it's a gift. Like, you're giving them that gift. They could do whatever they want with that gift, do good or do bad, but God's still with them through the whole time.
Okay, so we're sitting here in church and we're like telling you these stories, but and to you, like, they might just be stories. Like, you're gonna go home, you might forget about them, but like, it can happen to anyone. And I think it's important to realize that it's everywhere. And you might think that, like, oh, you have to go on a youth group mission or whatever, just go to a soup kitchen and serve them food. But like, any way that you can, just showing your humanity to these people who need that humanity, it's sort of like, I think it saves their lives, like, in any way it does. So no matter what age, like these little kids or like anyone a little bit of help can help these people a lot.
Amen.
Amen.